Well, some business advocates warn the sector remains lost when it comes to cutting their emissions and costs. That's despite moves to impose price caps and drive down prices. Joining me is Business New South Wales Executive Director now. So talk us through exactly what you see as the issue, because we're hearing some in business might have to shut. Their costs are going up so high, and costs are still going to go up next year. What are the areas that are really going to be, or the sectors that are really going to be on the edge here?
Well, I think this is something which affects all of communities, all families and all businesses to varying extents. And first of all, I might just point out that we completely agree with what Samantha just said in the last segment about the need for gas into the future. And in particular, some businesses rely on gas, those who make glass, those who make bricks, those who make food, etc. And because there's no roadmap in front of them that they can follow, and there's a paucity of advice available for them to lower their reliance on electricity, gas, or all power, they're really finding that although the heart is willing, the roadmap is not there in front of them, nor is the advice.
Yeah, and what's the biggest issue? Because the federal government says, look, here's a price cap for the next 12 months, and we have our estimates out. I guess that at least that's some sort of certainty. Is it that? Does that alleviate the very worst of it? Or is it sort of, okay, that's 12 months, what happens beyond then? What's the plan for my business? What happens in 2030? How forward thinking are people?
Well, that's exactly right. And businesses, of course, trade on confidence. They trade on certainty. And where there's a lack of certainty or a lack of confidence, sentiment drops. And what we've seen is actually in November, for the first time, even throughout the pandemic, New South Wales businesses are looking to the future with some degree of trepidation. They're seeing their future falling away because of this lack of confidence. But at the same time, they're very willing to transfer to a net zero future. We see 62% of New South Wales businesses coming forward and saying we want to transfer, we want to be part of the journey to net zero, but we don't know how. But from our perspective as a business association, as the peak body in New South Wales, it's a no-brainer. It's a cheap no-brainer to teach businesses, to educate businesses how to lower their bills at the same time as making sure there's adequate supply.
Yeah, and I suppose while we talk a lot about energy, in one sense, we all get at least how it happens. Renewable energy, it's not hard to figure that out, and you can electrify transport as well. But all the other processes are the ones we're a bit less sure on, right? Some of these processes we don't know whether there will be low technology that's much lower emissions. I mean, making concrete as one example. So is that the other big one, whether purchased offsets are going to be a big part of some industries, and then who pays is always the question.
Oh, well, that's exactly right. I think we need to take a very balanced view on this. I think we need to push towards the mandated 2030 and 2050 targets, but we need to do it in a way that supports and educates business along the way. So if there are emerging technologies or emerging techniques and methodologies by which concrete, for example, can have lowered carbon input to it, or glass can be manufactured with lowered inputs. We now know through our recent survey that businesses are hungry for that advice. They're hungry to lower their bills, and they're hungry to be on the journey, but that advice is not forthcoming. And our overriding point is when we're talking about billions in subsidies here or caps over there, it's really pocket change for government to educate business and get them on the road to net zero, thus lowering their own risk, and also kind of taking that sharp point off what is going to be a rough road to transition. I mean, next year's going to be tough. We've got rising interest rates, we've got rising insurance, we've got supply chain constraints around the world in staff and materials, and on top of that we've got this well-publicised rise in energy prices. We don't want to be like Europe, we don't want to be like the UK at the moment, so let's be sensible, let's get ready for this, let's have a roadmap, and let's train and educate our businesses, and at the same time let's unconstrain our domestic power.
David Harding, got to leave it there. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you very much.